So take a closer look at how the doctrine of discovery might work. For example, let's take James Cook. Now, he was an English sailor and map maker, explorer, adventurer looking for gold, as I would say. On the west coast of Canada, what today is British Columbia on the west coast, so north of Washington in the United States, is an example of how this doctrine of discovery worked. Any European countryman who passed by a river, he was then said to have discovered that river. It therefore belonged to his country from that moment on. And not only just the mouth of the river that he just sailed by, but the entire river. Not only just the entire river, but all the river, the tributaries, and the lands associated with the tributaries, which in this case, in British Columbia, went about 400 kilometers inland. And we deal with it in the news quite often, just recently, quite often, because they're considered to have owned that land. And then a couple generations later, when some guests show up and they make a little settlement, and I should say visitors, not guests. Originally they're visitors. Then they show up as guests and they have a settlement down the road from the indigenous people. All the while, they claim to own all this land. They think they own all this land. And there are many, many of these examples all over South America, North America, where the indigenous never gave away their land, or when they did, it was sometimes a lot of illegal treaties, but there are many, many examples where there was never anything discussed. And neither side really discussed what was going on. They just moved in and started taking everything, and that's what we're dealing with today. And so the basis of a lot of today's laws really go back to this doctrine of discovery. And the United Nations has ruled on that as being no basis in law. In fact, the only way to fix these things really is in the International Court of Law, the way the civil rights movement happened in the United States to really get something done, the way apartheid in South Africa got changed. It was international pressure that happened. So in North America, we've got what we call the Manifest Destiny. That's a famous American thing. It's basically the American version of We Are the Master Race, white superiority that we spoke about earlier. Or a line that I like, which is, well, to do with treaties. I say, well, we just passed a law which says that we can just break Indian treaties whenever we want. That kind of sums up the whole attitude. And that kind of takes care of that little situation, doesn't it? If you make a law about it, we just ignore all the treaties whenever we want to. All right, a little more next time.